Welcome to the CWC Podcast with your host, David Selby, Justin Reed, and Andy Horton.
Welcome into the CWC Podcast, the home for the latest news, rumors, and interviews around the sport of chuckwagon racing. I'm your host, David Selby, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Justin Reed and Andy Horton. How are you guys doing today?
Doing all right.
Awesome.
It's good to see you guys. On today's show, we will have special guests from Loretta Lynn's ranch in Hurricane Mills, Tennessee, joining us. We're going to talk to Anthony Brutto, grandson of the late Loretta Lynn, who manages the ranch and all the crazy events that they have there, along with Kim Mayo, who promotes and helps to organize the chuckwagon race events that they host. They're hosting the heavily anticipated first race of the year, March 20th through 23rd, I think is the dates they have down. And we are very excited to pick their brains about what we can expect. So stay tuned. It's all coming up on the CWC Podcast. Also, make sure to get over and subscribe to the Chuckwagon channel at chuckwagonchannel.com. It's $11 a month or $99 a year. There are so many good things happening right now with Chuckwagon, and I just believe this is going to be a great year to be a part of the Chuckwagon channel. So we would love to have you. Please keep supporting what we're doing. We really appreciate those of you that have, and there's a lot of good stuff coming this way right now. Speaking of great things, Justin, it's good to have you back this week. We missed you last week. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing fantastic. In fact, and you know why? Because your team lost. And let me tell you, ain't karma a bitch? Because you shit talked me this whole past week, and then your team lost. And they didn't just lose. They got drugged through the dirt. Go Eagles.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. So now because of me, you're an Eagles fan?
I'm not an Eagles fan, but I'd rather see them win than you.
There was nothing in the show notes about this. We were not supposed to talk about this on this show.
Well,
Oh.
anyways, how are you doing?
Oh, not good now. I'm not good at all now. It was terrible.
Yes.
Terrible game. It was not fun to watch.
No.
It was really hard being there for our third Super Bowl in a row, and watching them lose. And that game sucked. It was bad all the way around. And I'm not going to take the low road like most people who play against the Kansas City Chiefs and blame the refs or something. I think that the other team played a great game. I think the Chiefs played like crap. I think it was from the very start. There was no spark. There was nothing on that Kansas City offense that ever got going, and it's unfortunate. I think that there are things that I could point at that I'm like, man, that could have been the spark. That could have been the spark, but man, it just did not come. It didn't come in any form. Pat Mahomes couldn't get something good going.
Nope.
None of the receivers could just catch the ball.
Yeah.
It's hitting your hands. You're a professional. This
Yeah.
is your job. Catch the ball. And I know it's easier said than done. And I know that I just think it's such a big stage. I don't care if it's your third Super Bowl in a row. Like, if you can imagine running out that tunnel at the Super Bowl, I cannot name a bigger stage that any professional sports person could be on than the Super Bowl stage. It's just incredible, man. So I just feel like in some ways you could always pretty reasonably say all bets are off when the Super Bowl goes and when a national championship goes, because I'm also a Kansas Jayhawks fan, and they tend to go pretty deep in the tournament a lot of times. I've been to a couple national championships, and I'm telling you, man, when you get on the biggest stage in your sport, things change.
Hey.
Bets are off.
I understand that, but if you watched even a glimpse of that game, it would almost tell you that for sure the Chiefs were on the take.
What does that mean? What does that mean they're on the take?
It means that they were paid off to lose that game.
Oh,
okay.
Come on.
Oh, come
Hey,
on.
what? I like
look,
that.
look.
I actually like that.
When they went to go catch the ball and it was right in their hands and then they just drop it.
Yes, DeAndre Hopkins did drop. That was probably the one that I would say looked really bad. I was like, okay, hold on a second. what's going on here? Like your hands are here, the ball is coming at. It's like, oh Patrick, you're not supposed to throw the ball straight to me like that. You're supposed to make it a hard catch. That one was really bad. I don't know, and it was also I think that was his first it might have been his first target of the game, and so
Yeah.
dude, that was his first Super Bowl, I think.
I'm not saying they were on the take. I'm not saying that they were paid off to throw the game, but it didn't look convincing.
Yeah, that one was. If you took that away, it would look. I think the game looks different almost on that take, if you will. But yeah, that game sucked. So thanks for bringing it up.
Not a problem.
And
my pleasure.
Yeah, so that's we had, like I was saying, we had all good things to say about you last week when you were gone.
Yeah, I was sitting on the couch watching the Cowboy Channel.
What? You don't watch this show? How would you know?
Because I do watch this show, even when I'm not on it.
Oh.
Oh man. Well,
and you trying to talk Andy and talking shit. Come on. He was like, I don't think.
No. I think
No,
Andy was the one actually that started that before the show. He was like, "Hey, we should talk a lot of shit on Justin."
Now you're gonna accuse me of saying stuff off camera. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh man,
dude.
And then you said that it was going to be a PG show because I wasn't on there.
Well, I mean that much is true.
Well, that's held true. I mean, that just happened. We saw how that went.
Yeah.
Listen, we're fessing up. Don't push it too far, buddy.
All right. Well, I'll let you be.
So, anyways, work's good, I guess, huh?
Oh yeah, I'll be traveling in a week. Birthday's next week, so not much to consider. But
your birthday is next week.
Yeah, Monday.
Oh man,
President's Day. I'm gonna be going to the horse races.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Going to Oakland.
Oakland. How close is that to where you're at?
It's in Hot Springs, so it's about an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've actually never been to like gambling betting horse races.
Oh, you should go. They're so much fun. So much fun. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'd love to go sometime and see what it's all about.
I think every time I've been, I've seen either Carl or Marty or Cindy or Todd or
yeah. They probably live too close to that place.
Exactly.
Well, it's good to have you back anyways this week. And next week I'll be on vacation. So speaking of special occasions, I am taking the week off. That's what we need. Just have a little family time. We're going to go down to the Gulf of America and have a little bit of fun on the coast there. And Miranda's folks will be down there, and it'll just be good to focus on family for a good week. And then we'll be back at it. We're going to hit the ground running. It's just 2025 is not going to let up. I think this year is going to be completely insane. That's how it's going so far. So. Like if I'm being honest, I feel like it's been 2 weeks since you and I were on here, Andy. Like I can't even believe that it's been 1 week. I feel so far removed from doing this podcast because there's been so much that's been going on. I've been on the phone.
Yeah.
Did you find an office space?
No, we're looking for an office space. We've, I guess you could say we've been negotiating on a couple of different places. We're trying to decide if we want to buy a space, if we want to rent a space. Renting space obviously is cheap to get into because you're just paying monthly and okay. But right. I don't like the long game approach on that where you're just dumping money into an endless pit and you'll never see any of it ever again. And
it's no investment.
So it's like if you can just come up with a down payment and if the place is decent, you might as well be putting equity into your own space or building equity on your own space. And I'm a huge proponent of doing that. So it just makes decision making a little harder when you're going at it like that. Not to mention you have you go under contract for a month, you got to do inspections, you got to do all that stuff and close on it. And so prayers appreciated. But yeah, we'll have Savannah starting at the beginning of March pretty much as well. and that's coming up really fast. So want to have a place for Savannah to work. And for anybody that doesn't know, we're hiring Savannah Smith. She's our addition to the team that will be our first ever full-time employee who's going to be rocking on content, video content, photos, social media, and really helping us elevate ourselves into that next level of getting content out consistently. And we're very excited about that.
Well,
Especially because little snippets from our show, like stuff that we just can't really, we don't have time to do. And
Yeah.
just to be putting that out there. And, there's a lot of reasons you want to do short form, like snippets. It could be that you want to entice people to go watch the show, like a cliffhanger, or maybe you actually have like one important piece of the show that you really want everybody to know and not have to dig through the whole show to get it.
Yeah.
Or maybe there was a funny joke, so you want to be able to do that stuff and stay engaged with people, and we just haven't been able to do that. So
yeah, and I think that stuff's important. I think it works because I've definitely tracked down podcasts and longer shows and stuff based on stuff I've seen on social media that was cut out of it. So
yeah,
I think that does help. It definitely helps grow your reach for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and it keeps it relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. You got to stay in front of people. Yep.
Yeah. But speaking of upscaling, what do you and old Josh Spain have cooking up at the Goat Ranch?
Oh, well, I was over there this week doing some shooting with those guys, which, because I'm an hour away from that particular event, that particular venue, it makes it easier for them to capitalize on what I do for sure. But I'm capitalizing as well, right? I'm working. And so to be able to go and shoot Chuckwagon race content or Chuckwagon related content, it's exciting for me. And, we kind of started doing that stuff in 2023 where I was shooting for them. And then last year we kind of did this whole get ready for Baker Spain, and we wanted to promote that well. And so I was out there a couple of times before Baker Spain, and that was in June, and got to tell the story of Josh's wife, Jordan's mother.
Mm-hmm.
So Josh's mother-in-law, Karen, who was diagnosed with brain cancer, and we wanted to tell her story and capture all the all the stuff they're doing, building a huge stage, building a huge pavilion, and they're doing a lot more, and they're expanding, and so to tell those stories and really get going with it, that was cool last year. And this year we're just going to take that next step. They feel like that's working for them, and so they're having me come out there more. And so I guess if you're following Josh Spain on Snapchat, you probably know that some of the possible projects that he's wanting to do, but he's also hinted at doing a reality TV show, and so that's being tossed around, and we'll just see what comes together there.
Oh, really? Okay. So do you really think there is going to be a show? I mean, putting you on the spot here.
Well, I guess I should say my lips are sealed at the moment, not not trying to keep a secret or whatever, but I just think that anything could happen. Anything could kind of fall on their plate, hopefully fall on our plate. Hopefully we're involved, with whatever does happen. I know he's serious about creating a lot more reality type content, and I think that he sees the shift in the way video entertainment is going. I think that he sees what he's doing and what his team's doing as something that's interesting, that he wants documented. And even just like with his Snapchat, he feels like he's getting a lot of responses from the stuff that he posts and showing some of that day to day, and so so we we're talking about that. My whole thing is that I want to have a plan.
Yes.
And I want to make sure and I want to make sure yes.
Make a plan, Josh. I'm talking to you.
So there's stuff in the works. Can't tell you what it's going to look like yet. Just stay tuned. Hopefully you hear it here first.
Right on.
Okay, so getting into news and notes, updates on season 2 of the Great Wagon Race. We released episode 4 on Friday this last week, which puts us on finale week. This is the 5th and final episode coming out this week on Friday evening. Anybody get to watch episode 4?
Yeah, I watched it the Friday right when you right when it was up, and I just skimmed back through it again to kind of refresh my mind on some of the stuff that I saw. And man, it was a great episode. Some of the footage and stuff. Man, our corner shot. We had Raylan over there. Like, what a shot! I mean, in all of the races and the ability to slow that down. I mean, just really cool cinematic looking stuff. Just good story all around, especially the buckboard stuff. I mean, man, leading into that Sunday race. I mean, that the buckboard is really, really awesome. I mean, I think it was covered well.
Yeah. Well, as one of the people who gets to see all that footage a whole lot after the fact, I wish there was even more. And
oh, sure. Yeah.
But
yeah, you never wish you had less, that's for certain.
Yeah, I think in season 1 we could always pretty much go to any of the historical footage. If it's like, hey, we need another crowd shot or whatever, it just kind of made sense. Mm-hmm. It always made sense to that storyline, like for us to just jump around in time, because it was kind of like your documentary that was a little bit more historically based. And then this year you're very much in the present. And so it's like you can't just go and grab some old B-roll. And I mean, you can. It just it feels like you're breaking the rules, and so you try to play with what you have. But I know, talking to our main person editor, Alicia Perry, she's like, man, it felt a lot more difficult this year. Actually, she said I felt hamstrung by what we had, and I was like, I totally feel you, and we're gonna do better this year. But it's just so different going into this next season, I think, because she came on in March last year, and that's where we pretty much picked up with her, and so we edited all the way up through like when we were releasing everything in July, and then and then it was like, turn right back around, let's go season 2. Not nearly enough time to prepare. And so like this year we're already further ahead on preparing for season 3 than we were, probably in the middle of the summer for season 2.
You heard it here, folks. There is going to be a season 3. He just said
it. Yeah, there is going to be a season
Absolutely.
3. We still need to work out some details there, but the oafs have told me that they want to do it, and I want to do it, and we believe it's feasible, and we see things happening with Cowboy Channel and these possibilities of monetizing and distributing and everything. So I think that all the indicators are pointing up in a good way.
I think part of the challenge and maybe part of where some of the stretch has come from between season 1 and season 2 is season 1 we weren't trying to do podcasts and live shows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
exactly what I said.
Yeah. And so trying to stretch and do that is we just can't be in two places at the same time. And so like some of the stuff that probably we would have been out there in the field to cover, we were shooting a show. I'm not saying we shouldn't shoot a show. I'm just saying that was part of the challenge that we're going to have to figure out how to put people in two places. So
I totally agree. And that was, I told her, I said, we're just biting off so many new things, trying to do a switcher during the races, trying to do a live feed in the pavilion, trying to do the podcast. Whenever you are taking your people that could have two of your main people that should have cameras in their hands and you're putting them in front of the camera.
Yeah.
You're not only creating more camera people, but you're having something that's not getting shot, or maybe not being shot like it should be, like we would have used to been shot. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of, a lot of things a lot of pieces swapping in this last year. And so we will look to improve on that for season 3. And I can tell you, we definitely will. And I'm ecstatic about it. I can't wait to start seeing the script materialize and everything for what we want to do. And also, I didn't really have that input from an editor last year either. It was just like, okay, here we go. Here's the next one. And we went at it, So this year, Alicia and I will be on the same page. I doubt I get her down there because she lives up in Minnesota. But if we could get her down there and have her like doing, footage log like the whole week, that would cut down.
Oh man, she would know right where everything was. I mean,
yeah,
that would be incredible if she knew where everything was as it was loaded. So yeah.
So there's with all of that comes the request of more funds, need to have a bigger budget. Yeah. And so those are things that I'll talk about with the oafs, and those are things that we'll consider. And also, we don't know what will happen with season 2 between now and late summer. I mean, who knows? Maybe we talk to Cowboy Channel and something good happens, and maybe they come in. Maybe they say they want to help fund it or help shoot it or produce it or whatever. And who knows? I mean,
yeah,
just anything could happen. So yeah, this Friday we will be putting episode 5 out, which will feature the final day of racing, or Sunday, as everybody knows it at Clinton. This is the season finale. It'll be longer than episode 4. Actually, I originally thought episode 4 would be the longest, but we are over the half-hour mark on this. So we'll have to cut that down or do some magic if we end up making this all fit into like a 30-minute segment on Cowboy Channel at some point. So don't miss season 2 finale of the Great Wagon Race this Friday, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, exclusively on the Chuckwagon channel.
Right on. Okay, so we had season 1 on the Cowboy Channel. Mm-hmm. So just asking for a friend here, do you think that this is going to end up on the Cowboy Channel at some point?
Well, that's the hope. So I talked to, let me do my math here, last week, Thursday last week, I spoke with Cowboy Channel, spoke with Teton Ridge, who has acquired them. They had one of their people there. And so we're kind of waiting for the dust to settle with them recently, with Teton acquiring Cowboy Channel and RMG, Rural Media Group, which has Cowgirl and RFD TV. And and so they kind of mentioned that their business model might be changing a little bit as they move forward. And so things are changing right now. And some stuff is still up in the air. And I feel optimistic that we'll have a better idea here in the next month or two. They did tell me to reach back out in like 3 to 4 weeks, because I think there's just a lot happening right now. To my understanding, Teton acquired them in like late 24. So in the last 6 months.
Right.
And if you ever read anything about a big company buyout, there's a lot of things that change potentially. Hopefully all for the better, And so, I think that this opens up the door for us to, pitch our stuff. And the cool thing is we've already successfully shown season 1, and they're still using it, which Friday night, Valentine's Day, 6 or 7 p.m. Check your programming for Cowboy Channel. They are supposed to show the 5th episode of season 1 on Cowboy. And then in the morning at 7 a.m., they'll have the season finale, the hour-long season finale. So if you just wake up after a wonderful Valentine's Day after Friday night, and you're just like laying in bed and you want to turn on something great, just flip on the Cowboy Channel and you can watch an hour of Chuckwagon racing.
Nice.
So, but yeah, no, I think good things are coming, man. I think we just got to hang in there and stay tuned, because we're gonna let you know when big things are happening, and we know they're coming. It's just a matter of when. Could be any week, could be any day. All right. Well, let's get to our special guests. I know they are hanging out, waiting in the waiting room, and we want to get them in here. So sit tight, and I'm going to start flipping some switches. Oh, there they are.
Hey, Kim.
But yeah, I've already kind of thrown out the intro, but I'm going to do it again for you guys. So Anthony Brutto, grandson to the late Loretta Lynn. He manages the ranch there at Loretta Lynn's Ranch in Hurricane Mills, Tennessee. We've had him on the show before. It's good to have you back. Yeah, Kim, first time. Welcome to the CWC podcast. How are you feeling? Are you nervous?
No.
Are you shook up at all?
No, I'm good. I'm excited to talk to all of y'all.
Well, we're stoked to have you here, and I know, Kim, you've got a lot of history with Chuckwagon racing. I know that you and your husband Shannon have done a lot of racing over the years. How did you get involved with Loretta Lynn's originally?
Well, actually, my first Chuckwagon race to ever go and see was at Loretta Lynn's. This was before we got involved. And Shannon said when we left there, he said, the next time I go to a race, I will be in a wagon. Oh, gosh. And actually, the next time we went to a race was at Clinton that following year. And he got in a race wagon at Clinton for his first time. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Crazy place to do it.
He raced with.
That's not getting your feet wet. That's diving in head first.
Yeah, he
That's
did.
right.
He actually raced big mules with Zach Polk with Cedar Creek.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then after that, he was hooked. And so I didn't race with him the first year because I was a sissy. And then the second year, I started racing with him. And actually, my first year at Clinton, he ran over me and broke my leg. Yeah. So, but then I got back in the wagon with him the following year, and it's just been on ever since.
Sounded like there was something to settle there.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, huh.
Yeah. He didn't even wait on me at the racetrack. That was the bad thing.
Kind of to elaborate a little bit though, for Kim and them, Reggie Little was the one that started our race out here, and there was a slight break. And whenever I came to manage the ranch in 2017, Reggie approached us about doing Chuckwagon races again, and he did it all the way until he was too sick to do it, and then ultimately passed away. And Shannon and Kim approached me the year of his passing, and Reggie's wife Ann took over to do the last race for us under the Little organization, and Kim kind of came on, and Shannon came on, and they asked me if I wanted to continue doing the Chuckwagon races. The appealing thing about them was they are Chuckwagon racers. And as I've said before to you guys, I am not really that much of a horse person. I don't know, I know their head from their rear end, and that's about it. But it was cool to be able to have somebody from the racing world come in and help us do this, because they've offered a lot of insight on things I wouldn't even think about. And it's been really helpful over the couple years that we've done this event together, getting that kind of insider knowledge. We have more information about the racers, what the racers are wanting, and what really makes the track appealing. That's the really super pro that they've brought to the table for us.
Yeah. And when did you guys first have a sanctioned race there?
The first sanctioned race was under Reggie. I know that they started them sub 2015. I don't know when the exact first date that we did it was. Reggie, like I said, there was a little bit of a break. I think there was a disagreement on what was supposed to be happening and what was happening. And we got that ironed out. And I believe it was 2017 was the first year that we did it back. It was either 2017 or 2018 that we had the first races back. And we've been doing them every year since then, and we've been doing 2 a year. We do a sanctioned race, and then we'll call it an outlaw race. So we do a points race and a money race basically each year, and it's been that since we brought them back under my tenure as the general manager of the ranch.
Under your rule,
under my regime here.
Yeah. Well, I know that it's legit because every time I try to call, I get immediately stopped by your receptionist, if you will, or your bodyguard that picks up the phone.
You got to get through the muscle to get to the man.
Yeah, they don't put me through. They make sure that I leave them a note, and you'll get back to me when you've got service again or something. So
we get a lot of telemarketing calls at the ranch, and everybody always asks for me, and they know my name now somehow. So they do their job very well. If you call enough, like Kim, if she has to call the office, they usually just put her right through. But you just got to call more often, and they'll start to know who you are.
Preferred.
Okay, so it's like that. So I'm gonna be bringing some donuts in this time. Whenever I come in, when I come in March, I'm gonna be bringing some donuts to the front office there.
Yeah, it's the fastest way to people's heart.
That's how it's gonna happen. Yeah, they're gonna see Selby Films on that caller ID. And they're going to say, can we just push this straight through?
That's right.
It's our favorite guy. As a matter of fact, we're going to take this because we want to talk to him for a minute anyways. So
yeah.
All right.
Maybe they want to talk about the Chiefs game.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Wasn't that horrible?
Okay. Yes, that was
Oh,
horrible.
Oh
man.
my gosh.
I'm not
We
a
should
big
talk.
football fan, so it's
Oh, so
pretty,
you didn't know? That's good.
it's pretty funny, not even being a football fan, who some of these people are, Travis Kelce because
Yeah.
of Taylor Swift. They're just
Yeah.
in the media, Mahomes is in the media, and you
Yeah.
learn this stuff. So we were actually at Applebee's that night, and we watched. It was just on in the background, everybody in there's cheering or booing or whatever it is, and I couldn't help but chuckle because Mahomes is like the poster boy of the NFL right now, and everybody's saying the NFL's rigged because all these questionable calls, and it was just
Yeah.
funny to see them getting getting the floor waxed with them for sure.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Just that's just my team. That's fine. And they
We have
it
the
would be-
Titans, so I mean, I can't.
That's true.
They made it to the Super Bowl that one time and almost won, and then it's just been a downhill struggle since then.
Yes, and I don't really have room to complain because we've been on cloud nine ever since Patrick Mahomes went under center.
Don't you mean
and
ever since Tom Brady retired?
oh, okay. Well, we're supposed to talk about other things today. This is. I thought I was safe. I thought this was a safe place.
Well,
Yeah,
not since
that's-
you opened the can of beans last week.
Yeah, wrong.
Oh
That's a
my
wrong
gosh.
call. That's
Oh,
better
God.
help that you're in safe space on.
Okay. Anyways, so all the stuff I was going to talk about today was really just shot to hell at this point, but I guess we'll talk about it anyways. So, Kim,
Yes, sir.
thanks for being here today, and
for having
we're
me.
really glad that you're on the show, and it's good to have a female presence, as well. But I love that you guys have someone that's a racer that's involved, and I actually think the duo of Anthony not being out of the Chuckwagon community, I think it makes a nice combination, honestly, because you've got the inside and the outside the box perspectives there to help kind of promote and drive this thing. And I know this year you guys are going to be stop number one on the list for everybody, whether it's association or not. You guys are the first option for a race, so how are you guys feeling being the first stop for anybody this year, first Chuckwagon race?
I mean, I think it's a great thing. You've got all of these racers that are ready to get out there and race and see what their animals have to bring to the table this year.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I know, we're a little inconvenienced for a lot of people coming from Arkansas, but it also gives them a little change of scenery too. So, but I think all these racers, they're ready. They're ready to get out there and see how their teams are going to perform and, see what they got.
Yeah.
Yes, I that's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm hearing. I've seen some new race teams popping up. I've seen people making some posts about their new livestock, and the chatter is starting to happen on the social media, and so I am excited to see people get out there on the track and
I think
and
they're starting on that from the wagon's tongue. They're starting to showcase some of the new teams coming in. From what I
Yes,
saw,
I
I think they
love what-
started posting that today or yesterday.
Where's
and
Robbie?
Yeah,
yes,
I love it. Which they raced in October at Loretta's. That was their first race.
Oh, yeah.
So that was a neat part to
That's
see go
awesome.
across the track. See Robbie Big standing up with the cigarette in his mouth. Like he drives his
I
wagon.
love it. Yep.
Yeah.
It's cool. I mean, it's neat to see all this. Like I don't hate on horses by any means. When I say I'm not a horse person, for some reason in people's mind that registers of I don't like horses. I do like horses. I just was thrown off of a horse very early in my life, and that has been, in my experience, and it got ingrained very deeply in my brain. That being said, my first race in a chuck wagon was actually at the ranch in the wagon with Shannon, and we ended up winning that weekend. So I do have a belt buckle from a winning team here in chuck wagon racing that is on my bookshelf. But it's cool because the ranch is it's more than just like, yes, we're the first stop this year, and I'm super stoked because I know from a motorcycle standpoint, whenever season of a race season starts, like I get excited for the first race of the year. So this is the same thing, just a different vehicle to be riding on. So they're chomping at the proverbial bit. No pun intended. Actually, it was, but you know, they're
Actually, we'll
chomping at
give
the
you that
bit
one.
to get to racing, and that's really cool. But the cool thing about the ranch is we offer so much more than just a place to come race. You know, having the campground and it being the event center and everything is all tucked in there together. You know, I think it's a really great place for people to start at. Especially if you've never been in the Chuckwagon community or that racing side of stuff. You know, we have so much here to offer as the ranch that it's a good step into just the racing world in general. And then if you're just a spectator coming to watch this stuff, you know, you have more than just coming and being just engrossed by the horse activities. If you're a Loretta Lynn fan, we've got a ton of stuff out here too for you to see. And then a lot of activity in just the campground that can happen just because it's right there. It's all just commingled together.
Now, did y'all change the date to the beginning of the race season due to the weather and the fact that in the past it's been a couple of races in? So some people thought, well, if I don't go to that one, that's fine. I can make the next one. So did y'all change that date just for those reasons, or was there another event that came in that was going to conflict with that?
A lot of factors into that, really. The biggest one, which Kim and I talked about, this has kind of been a discussion since we did it in end of June last year, and a lot of people liked that it was in June, but the more resounding noise that we got back from it was just a little too hot for everybody. The other factors that you mentioned did play into effect. You know, it being hot, but also we are one of the further races away from where all of the central races happen. And last year, ACWRA instituted that you could kind of drop a couple races. You know, so the logic for me was if you're ahead in the points and you're doing well, the logical thing would be to drop the further race because you don't, you know, I'm ahead in points. I don't need to worry about going to this one. Save me a little bit of time and a little bit of money. So that definitely did play a factor into it. The hype built around being the first race is something you can't recreate. But in terms of another event, we actually, that's an open weekend. That June date is an open weekend for us. We didn't fill it with anything. It just kind of worked out a little bit better for our schedule to be the first of the season. Um, Again, it's kind of one of those deals with horses. You know, they poop and pee all in your campground, and we are a campground and event center before and after this event. So last year, I spent a significant amount of money getting fly traps to try to prevent fly population for the remainder of our event. So that did play a factor into the date being moved as well. You know, like I said, a lot of factors, but the number one that really had us starting this conversation was listening to the racers and listening to the spectators that came. They just said it was a little too hot. They were worried about the animals running, you know, full speed for all day in the middle of the sun because, you know, unfortunately ours is an open field, so it is right in the sun all day. You know, you do get
It's
hot
kind of in a
out
bowl.
there. Yeah.
And it
So
was
kind of in a bowl
hot.
of
It was
trees.
hot last June.
yeah, it was definitely last year was definitely a hot year, hot week that week. But yeah, I mean the main factor was the resounding kind of noise back from the racing community saying it was just a little too hot.
Mm-hmm.
But also moving
Well,
it made it to where we wasn't going to be back to back weekends. You know, it's hard for
yeah.
racers to race back to back weekends. So
Very
this
hard.
also helped to where there was at least a weekend in between having two races.
Right.
Yeah, and I know you guys got pinched last year with your summer race where it was like literally Baker Spain, they kind of limped in late, I think, on the agenda. They got approved, and then they were like your third weekend of June. And the way the dates went last year, it was like then there was that, and then you guys were the next weekend, and then that was like literally right before the 4th of
That's right.
July,
Yep.
too. And so you guys were just like pinched is the best way to put it.
Yeah, and it was, you know, I think maybe a little miscommunication. I don't want to blame anybody by any means. You know, I just think it was a little miscommunication. We were kind of told one thing, and that's why we were okay moving a date. because we originally were kind of in the spring before, and then we moved to that summer date, and we were told we wouldn't have anything before us because of we knew we were going to be butted up against 4th of July. And we knew that was going to be a tough deal anyway. But we moved it, and we were kind of told it was not going to happen. There wasn't going to be anything right before us. And then kind of like you said, last minute, that race got added in that date. And it was just circumstantially, I think that was the only date Baker Spain could do that time of the year. And, it is what it is. It's the fault of no one. It just kind of didn't really play in our favor as the luck of the draw on that one. And it just didn't really work out for us the way we would like. And again, that's another thing that played that factor into us moving it back to the spring dates. We've had historically pretty good track record in the spring, and I'm hoping that we continue that track record moving into this first event.
Yeah. So Kim, I'm curious, as a person who is historically a racer, who's around the livestock, who's stuck with a crazy guy that still likes to race a whole lot, I'm curious to know, how do you guys anticipate a race that's going to be that soon in the year? Is that like, are you guys excited about that weather? Are you excited about just like cooler weather?
Oh,
What do you
yes.
prefer as a racer? Do you like it to be warmer?
No.
Like, how does it affect your
No,
animals
I
and
have
your
said
and your own
multiple
mentality?
times. I have said, why can we not do these races like from fall, winter to spring and leave out summertime? Which, I'm kind of like, my thing about summertime is I want to be at the lake on my boat, doing things like that. And up until this last year, I mean, we did not miss a race. But this last year we had a lot going on. We were building a house, and it was just a lot. So we were racing all through the summer. And no, I definitely like it when it's cooler outside. I like it for me. I like it for our animals. I mean, and all the track officials that are out on the track. I mean, I know I'm miserable out there. I can only imagine what they are. At least I have a little exit there. But but no, I'm excited about moving it back to the spring.
Yeah, I feel like as a person that comes and shoots them, I look forward to going to the fall race because I know by the time you hit late October, you're done with the
That's
fever
right.
of summer. And so even worst case scenario, it'll be a warm day. You're not going to get just sweated out. And I love that about the fall event. And so I'm excited to know that. I mean, I think I'd rather be out there shooting in a coat than probably wearing a button up or whatever, and just trying to protect myself
That's
from the
right.
sun and sweating it out. Can't even hardly see what's in front of me because I sweat like crazy. In case everybody wanted to know, I sweat a lot, and so it makes the job harder. And yeah, it's gross. And you need an outfit change right after the races are done. And not only that, you just need like a breather. And whenever it's cooler out, it makes a long day of shooting so much easier. And so I feel like we just do a better job all around.
I
So
feel like
I'm
I complain
excited
a
that
lot in the
it's going to be
summer.
earlier.
Whenever I was actually
Yeah.
racing, having to wear those long sleeve button up shirts and jeans and having to jump in that race wagon, and you're coming out and you're covered in dirt and mud and everything else. I mean, I complained all the time. I know I
An
did.
extension of that though too, Kim, is you're hitting on the racing side. I noticed this year rolling into the evening activities, there was less attendance at our evening activities, and a lot of it was because people were just wiped out, or they ended a little bit earlier than they normally do because people were just so wiped out. Like you said, they're wearing a shirt and then they're putting that button up over it to do the race in, and it's just a lot. I mean, I tend to wear black. I forget about the sun a lot. So then I get out there and I just cook to death, and come, 9, 10, 11 o'clock, I'm toast. I'm over it. I don't want to go out to any more of the late night activity. I'm ready to call it a day. But in the winter, it seems like, yeah, you got to put on that extra jacket or whatever, but we put a campfire inside of the pavilion where the music and stuff's happening. We got 3 fire pits that are above ground fire pits, and we bring those out, and people huddle around them, and it kind of makes even for a cooler atmosphere because you're getting to sit around it's almost you're sitting around the campfire hanging out with your friends, while good music's playing in the background, and you've got that sense of camaraderie, and yeah, we just race, and I might have kicked your butt out there, but here we are, we're getting to talk and talk about what's going on, or I'm going to whip your butt tomorrow, kind of, that ego comes in whenever the racings happen, and I think
Yeah,
the
and with
evening
that,
activities are better in the spring and fall than especially this last summer race.
Yeah, and with you guys being there in Tennessee, not far from Nashville, you guys bring in some good bands. It's good live music, and
Yeah.
that makes it a lot of fun. You guys have a great venue. You know, you kind of hit on all the different things that there are to do. You guys are definitely one of these races where anybody that comes to it is going to find something to do for them, for their kids, etc. It's not just a race feature. It is very much a multi-event type deal, and it's one of the unique things about, I would say, Chuckwagon racing is just all the different stuff that tends to surround the main event. And I love that about you guys' venue, and I love the venue itself. You guys just have a beautiful venue, the way it sets there. And yeah, I mean, like the extremes, they suck, but they kind of suck anywhere. You know, when it's really hot,
Yeah.
it sucks.
Yeah.
But we're going to avoid that completely this year. And while we're talking about the fall event, if you guys have any room to speak about it, I'm curious to know what's the current outlook. I know you guys got landed where you kind of have to compete with an association race, the Chase Outlaw event in Arkansas now. You know, what's kind of the latest news there?
We really haven't come up with it yet. We really don't know yet. I do know for all the racers watching this, they have put a thing on the wagon's tongue that said, if you want to participate or if you think you would like to come to the Halloween Havoc race, like this comment. I know there's been quite a few that have liked it, but I mean, I'm sure there's a lot that hasn't seen it also. So, any racers listening and you want to participate in Halloween Havoc to come to the cash race, that's our biggest thing right now is not knowing what teams will have show up. And if you don't have the team show up, then it's not fair to the spectators.
Yeah.
And I know that Chase Outlaws thing
gamble.
has come in. It's the first weekend in November. That's going to put us back to back. And with us being in Tennessee, we're kind of at a disadvantage for the majority of the racers. So, we just got to get everyone's input on whether they think they would come or not. I mean, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. It's up in the air, I mean, truly at the end of the day, we love having the events out here. Speaking from the ranch side of stuff, any event that we do, we want these events to happen. We wouldn't do them every year if we didn't want them to happen. There's been many struggles that have came with the Chuckwagon races over the years, and it would be really easy to hang that stuff up. But that goes for any event we do out here. But at the end of the day, we are a business, and we do have to make it make sense financially for us. And it is a really big gamble. We had never had to compete with another ACWRA race. We asked for Halloween Havoc to become a sanctioned race, and it kind of got denied many times in a row. And the reason was they didn't want races that far into the season. And here we are, kind of getting a counter to what they've been telling us this whole time, and that's really incredibly frustrating from my side as the ranch, because we have been vocal about wanting that fall race to be a sanctioned race, but it now becomes much more risky for us to even do the Halloween race, regardless of whether we like it or not. Like Kim said, if you don't have the racers, it's not fair to call it a Chuckwagon race, and the spectators that are paying to come and watch this stuff. If you got 25 teams, that's not fair. That's not fair to them. It's not fair to the racers that are traveling to come. It's not fair to us. And that's all being weighed in right now. And I don't know if we'll have an answer for the Halloween Havoc race for a little while. Part of me wants to wait until this spring race happens to where we can go physically in person, talk to the race teams and say, hey, this is what we're up against. Would you show up if we did it? Because that's the only way that I feel like we're going to get a really, truly solid answer on, are we going to have 25 teams or are we going to have 75 teams? I'm here and I want to do it, and I'm willing to do back-to-back stuff if they're willing to show up and do it. Otherwise, it's just going to maybe be, we don't do it this year, and we'll hit the drawing book for next year on what we want that to look like. The only other option is we push deeper into November, and that becomes really risky because of the weather. It can be 65 degrees, perfect weather for it, or it could be 30 degrees. And that's just the gamble of doing it that late into the season. We could push to the second weekend or I guess the third weekend into November, but we might lose it being a Halloween theme, which kind of is really cool.
Right.
And then you run into Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Run into
You're
Thanksgiving festivities. And
yeah, it just is really, really tough.
So how many teams minimum would you have to have on the roll to say, yes, we're going to have that race?
So it's just tough. We need that I guess like 60 teams or so to show up for it to be a worthwhile event for us to be, otherwise it's just a horse event. And, we have a rodeo and we have horseback riding, guided rides and stuff like that, but can't really say it's a chuckwagon race at that point. If you have 25 to 40 teams show up, that's just not really fair to the spectators. To me, that's almost false advertising.
Yeah, I know that from an entertainment standpoint, you guys can hedge your promotion just a little bit, but you don't want to droop to a certain point. I understand that, and I know that you guys have been on the struggle bus the last year, and not just because of scheduling with the ACWRA races, but I know we lost a member of the Chuckwagon racing community last year, and that I know that there was a funeral on the same weekend for your fall event. So I know you guys are kind of you're going through a little bit of a stretch here, but we're gonna have this will go out there, and we'll continue to push, and we'll continue to get feedback, and hopefully get more people coming out there. I know that that's got to be frustrating for you guys, and I guess I think I try to think of it on both sides. I definitely see your frustration. I definitely see where how important for the sport adding more races is, and I know, because it's so small, right? Like, you don't really have enough teams to split up teams every weekend or anything like that. It's where it's such an interesting point. But I would also say I'm optimistic that for everybody that hangs in there, that that the sport is growing. There are new teams that are coming. There's more interest, and I think that one of the things that we've got to start initiating now locally with all these different racetracks is how you can not just promote to spectators, but promote to getting more racers, getting more people interested in the sport. And I know Kim and we had talked about this the other day for a minute, but we look up at like Gerald Burkhalter with his B&B race up in Indiana, a place where you don't get the crowd, you don't get the race teams from down south, really. And so he's gone to the Amish folks there nearby, and they've really brought an interesting and original take on a chuckwagon race there, and it's so cool. I mean, I sit and I talk about it. I've talked about it on this podcast a lot, but like, you see these kids that are 5-6 years old, that they can do things with animals that, like, grown seasoned ranchers just, it will blow their mind, because these kids, like, they were brought up with it, just it's so ingrained into what they do in their culture. And these kids get out there in their little buggies, and like, they don't care if they wreck, because they're made of like titanium and carbon fiber, and they'll just like roll around on the ground, and their bowl cuts will fly all over, and then they'll just stand back up, and they'll just hang on to them, and it's insane. But yeah, I think it'll be fun to kind of, like, whenever you get put into a tough spot, it's interesting to see how people can maybe innovate. And
No, you were talking about the kids getting out there and driving and stuff. And this goes back to Loretta's track. I was talking to Jana and Keisha, and I asked them, I said, hey, I said, what is your favorite thing about Loretta's track? This has just been like yesterday, I guess it was. And Keisha said, well, it's a driver's track. You can't just sit and hold the lines and hope it all works out. And then Jana was like, it's a challenging track. She said it's different than the same old oval or round track. It's a driver's track. You got to get out there and you've got to drive. It's just not putting you out in a wide open field, having the big spread out barrels. I mean, and just, think your ponies or mules or whatever's going to be automatic. And that's what everybody says. It's a driver's track.
Yeah, and I know you guys have done things over the years to make that track just better and better, and I think that people, the way you guys listen to the feedback over the years. I know Anthony, you've talked about how you guys like will drag and roll the track and stuff, and
I mean, everybody only sees the product of stuff; they don't see the work that goes into it. And I mean, my staff, we're out there 2 weeks before the event. We pick out every big rock on the track. My whole maintenance crew goes out there, and we literally handpick every big rock out of there. We fill in any holes that are that have held water or that have historically been soft spots. I mean, we brought in, this is a couple years ago. There was an issue with a culvert area, and that was kind of a safety concern of the racers in ACWRA. We spent money to get that fixed. We have brought in loads of chert, loads of topsoil to put in traditionally low spots. We get a compact roller that's for paving, and we rent that for the week, and we bring out and we compact roll the track. So anything that we've put out there that's new is compacted into the ground. So you're not going to be hitting a hard spot and then a soft spot or a wet spot or anything like that unless it rains. All those smaller rocks get pounded into the ground, and we try to do a really good job of leading up to the event, keeping everybody off of the track, with their vehicles, with their horses, because all that stuff is going to only pull rock back up. And traditionally the ground here is a bit rocky. It's a clay-based dirt with rock in it. So we try to really do our best to make sure that the track is as safe as possible. We wrap any poles with hay bales and tough block. Anything that can be a danger or has historically been in danger, we always address. Anytime ACWRA or a racer comes to us with a issue or a concern, we take that stuff very seriously, and we do want to make this the best race that we possibly can. But that can't happen the day of the event. So, we always try to be preemptive on this stuff, and we try to get that information early so that we can make it a safe and fun race for everyone, and do our best to always improve on it every single year.
Yeah, and I know that you guys do that. And I guess on that note, I'll kind of throw this question out there. I'd like to know what you guys are doing new, different, or special for this spring race. But I know that we're also excited to come and do stuff like we haven't quite done before. I know I've traveled solo for the last 3 trips I've made out there, and so this year we'll have Savannah there, our newest full-time videographer / social media manager, and she's fantastic. So I'm excited to have more hands on deck. And Justin, are you going to be at that race, or did you say
Nope,
you don't know yet? Yep. So we'll have Justin there, and so any opportunity, we're hoping to get the opportunity to do a pre-race type show for the podcast, and we're trying to break new ground on doing new things with you guys. So cheers to the new stuff, and just kind of continuing to build on what's there and what you guys have been doing.
And we've got some good bands coming in this year. We have a new rodeo company that's bringing the rodeo in this year. They seem like they're going to be.
Yeah, they're super stoked on it.
So
you guys have a good turnout for your rodeo stuff, and that's kind of the fun thing about these different events. But you guys, being that you guys are Nashville, Tennessee area, you kind of get some of that cowboy crowd or that country crowd that kind of comes out. And I know the bands have been really good. I mean, you guys have had great bands when I've been there.
Yeah.
We've got Debbie Johnson. She's working on the Extreme Cowgirl stuff.
Yep.
Trying to get it ready. What else am I missing, Anthony?
It's the rodeo's the big one. We kind of got thrown a curveball here last minute. We thought we had our previous rodeo group secured, and it turned out a conflict of a weekend, and we scrambled, and Kim did a great job of finding this rodeo crew coming in. So they're from what they've said and what we've talked about so far, they're gonna put on a really good show, and we got new music this year and new bands, and we're just gonna try to make it a really good event this year. I think less focus on bringing in a ton of new stuff and trying a bunch of new things, and really hunkering down on the things that we do and do well, and really trying to make it the best event that we can for the opening race of the season, and really trying to get the spirits up, and really drive that focus to let's come out here, have a safe, fun race. Let's kick this Chuckwagon season off with a banger and have some fun. Everybody get out of here fun, safe, and hopefully successful if you're a race team. And I think that's the main focus this year is really just focusing on what we do good, and really driving it forward in the safety aspect, and making sure everybody has a great time and a really fun turnout for the spectators as well.
Yeah, no, you guys do a great job of hosting, and like I said, I really enjoy coming out there, and it's just a fun place to be. It's cool, it's historical, and you think every track has its unique things. I mean, obviously, it's not that uncommon to see for the Chuckwagon racing people. It's not that uncommon to see wagon racing or some rodeo or concerts, but I would say you guys have some of the best concerts for sure. I think your venue is one of a kind. There's this historical aspect to all of it, deep country roots. And so if you haven't gone and checked out the amenities, the Loretta Lynn's house and things like that, I mean, those are such cool things to do. The trail riding, So there's a long list of things to do. You will not be bored there, and if nothing else, you can just sit and enjoy a beautiful, beautiful ranch. And that's one of my favorite things is just kind of the serenity of it all. So,
Hey David, are we
anything
gonna
else that,
get you on a horse during the trail ride this year?
I don't know that we have quite enough filmmakers that will be on staff this year to risk myself, my health or anything, and I might have a cold that week. I'm not sure, but anything else? Is there anything else at all that you guys would like to share with our audience before we hang it up for the show?
I'd like to ask a question real quick.
Sure, go for it.
Apologize.
Yeah.
So I know in the past, y'all have had, well, at least the ACWRA has been there when y'all had a moment of some flooding. And being that this is going to be in the springtime around storm, season, do y'all have any preparations for flooding if that happens, as well as tornadoes if that happens?
The unfortunate circumstance is no matter what you do, if you do an outdoor style event, you run the risk of anything happening. And we are a rain or shine event. That being said, if it floods, then that changes dramatically some stuff that we have. And that's a bridge that we have to cross. We have another field we could do the racing in just down the road. It's not quite as ideal because that would require all the race teams to pull their animals a couple miles down the road, and it would be a major inconvenience. But at the end of the day, we could still do the event and still do the racing. It just would, we do have a backup plan if something like that does happen. It's just everybody, it would be a major inconvenience to everyone. And, but we could still do the event and still do the racing. It's at a different spot on the ranch. Not quite as ideal as where it's at, but we could still do it. But let's fingers crossed. Let's all pray a little bit and hope that that's not the case. Let's hope that we have some really kick-ass weather and we start this off with a really good intro. Not everybody worrying about flooding and storms.
Was it last year during the ACWRA race? Was it the tornado warning? I think it was.
No. I don't think
or
so.
maybe the year before.
The year before.
It was the year before.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when the tornado warning come through, I went and knocked on some people's trailers, let them know what was going on. Went back up to the dance, announced it.
You're in a trailer.
Yeah. Well, I went back up to the dance and announced it. And it's like, I think at this point, like 11:30.
Yeah.
I was like, we can stop the band. Everyone can go in the bathrooms. No, everybody was ready just to keep hammering down.
Yeah, it's we have had inclement weather in the past and stuff, and but fingers crossed we have good weather. But I know if we don't, this is a good group of people. They get out there, they get muddy. I'm sure that you've got some film, David, people smiling and their whole mouth's black because they've been screaming and they got a mouthful of mud along the way. But that it is a good group of people that can persevere through that kind of stuff.
Yeah, as long as it's not Democratic outside, it'll be just fine.
I try to stay out of the politics side of things.
Oh, wow.
Well, no, you guys, I know that we're going to be thinking all good vibes. It's going to be a great race. It's going to be one of a kind. It's going to open the year perfectly for everybody. We're excited to be there, and yeah, I know we'll have details to hash out still between now and then to make sure that we've got a good game plan, but we'll be in touch with you guys, and yeah, We're excited to be there. Anything else at all that you want to throw out to our audience and the Chuckwagon racers before we hang it up?
Yeah, one of the things that I think that we do special just across the board for the ranches, I love constructive criticism. I don't like, if you have a problem with something we're doing, by all means voice it. Don't come and just complain though. I don't do well with just complaints, but if you have you actually truly see a problem and you think that there's a solution for it, I love constructive criticism because this is your event just as much as it is our event. This is something my grandmother told me whenever I first started at this business. We were blessed by Meemaw's fans to be able to have what we have. And it's our duty to share it with you guys, the racers, the community, the spectators, as though it was your property. We invite you, and when you come to the ranch, you're part of our family. You're part of the Chuckwagon Racing family, but you're also part of the Loretta Lynn family, and we truly want you to feel at home when you come here.
That's awesome.
One thing that we probably need to touch base on that I've had a few people reach out about is about the pins. I've let them know that the racers can bring their pins because, a lot of times they can't tie their horses, they can't tie their mules.
We've had some issues with the horses in the past, people not properly tying them and putting pins out in the middle of everything. And like I said, we are a multi-event a year. We had 20 events last year. So it's not just horses that come here. It's dirt bikes, it's Jeeps, it's concerts, it's motorcycle rally, whatever it is. We do a lot of stuff out here. So we can't let the property just get beat up because you want to tie your horse or pin your horse wherever you want. So unfortunately, after we had about 10 trees that are going to die because people improperly tied their horses, we stopped allowing you to bring your own pins. We have panels set up. We set them up where we know it's not going to damage anything. So we do have panels for rent if you want to do that. If you want to highline your horse, we have spots that you're going to be able to highline, but it cannot be inside of campground spots. For the racers, we're going to allow you to do certain stuff that we don't allow the general public. So if you want to bring your own panels and get them set up where it's close by, that's fine. We just are going to put you in a designated area. So it's only one area of the ranch that's being, stomped grass, because that stuff just doesn't grow back the way it's supposed to in the middle of the event season. And we want the ranch to look immaculate for not just you guys coming in, but the next event coming in and every event subsequent from here. So when you guys, what we'll do is we'll probably end up needing to make a video or something on where we're going to do it and how we're going to do that. So the racers can park a little bit, more accordingly for what their needs are. But we're going to try to kind of compact where everybody can set up their animals. And if you don't have your own pins, we have pins for just the general public that's bringing horses for the rides and things like that.
Hey, Anthony, last year it was cats, okay? But this time I'm bringing puppies out to lead for you.
Oh, great. Yeah, we actually had a few left last year. Me and Kim, was it after the October races or was it after the summer race? We had 2 or 3. It was really weird. Never has really happened this way. We had 2 or 3 just dogs that were left.
Yeah.
And
that's what we do.
I mean, it was probably, I brought one to my house. He was at my house for about a week before we found somebody to take him. And,
man.
But
Chuckwagon race dog?
And nobody called and said, hey, I'm missing a pet?
No.
I actually think somebody pulled through the ranch wanting to get rid of the dog and knew there was a bunch of people there and just wanted somebody to take it, as how I think it happened. Because I really think if it was any of the Chuckwagon racers or somebody like that, I don't foresee them doing that.
Yeah. Don't leave your dog, please.
But didn't somebody have cats in October?
No, that was the actual sanctioned race. He brought up a box of cats and a couple.
That's right, because didn't Brad take some of them?
I forgot about that.
Brad took 3 of them, I think it was. Yeah, Brad House took 3 home.
He said he was going to have some barn cats.
Yeah, needed some barn cats. Hey, man, those were cute. I love a good kitten, but the problem is kittens grow up to be cats, and a lot of cats are assholes. So I have a really great cat at my house. We fostered a cat that got left at the ranch, and my couch is destroyed. Every corner of my couch is destroyed from that cat.
Oh, man.
And
if you have a great cat, you have the great cat.
Yeah, my cat came from the ranch. It was dumped at the ranch. My buddy Eric was living with us, or living with me at that time before we had kids and stuff. And he drove the work truck home because his vehicle broke down, and he drove the work truck home. And about 11 o'clock at night, I heard him meowing, and I was like, are you kidding me right now? And this was one of the cats that had found its way to the dumpster area of the ranch, was feeding on all the scrap stuff in the dumpster, and it had made its way into the work truck, then made its way to the house. So I actually have a stray. It was a feral cat when we got it. It was a little kitten. We couldn't touch it for weeks. I mean, the amount of pork tenderloin that it took to tame this cat is unreal. But I still have that cat. I guess this is probably 5 years later. So much so, I didn't want this cat. So much so, its name's Kitten, because I didn't even care to name the cat. So it's Kitten, and but it's the best.
You can live here, but you don't get a name.
Yeah, but no joke, this is the best cat that you could ever ask for. I think maybe because it was raised around 3 dogs. But when I say let's go outside, it runs outside. When I say let's go in, it runs in. Like, you can meow at it and it will talk back to you. I mean, it gives you kisses, lays with our kids. It's my daughter's best friend. It's so crazy. But it's the best cat I think I've truly, literally ever seen in my life.
The best cat is no cat, in my opinion. So
hey, man, that's where I was. I don't want another cat. Hey, a good, this while you were talking, this is an idea for you. I wonder if you got some of the ACWRA members on at some point and did how do you get it into Chuckwagon racing?
Yeah,
how do you start in this? Maybe it's a mix of racers and ACWRA members, but that is an interesting thing, because I mean, if I were not involved in this at all, I would not know how this works. And something that might be interesting to do is a breakdown of how Chuckwagon racing actually happens too. Like the amount of times I've had to explain to people that came to the Chuckwagon races, because it's a horse event, but they don't know what Chuckwagon racing is, or how the scoring happens, or any of the rules of it. That might be a cool thing to touch on throughout. I know you need some stuff kind of in between, some filler pieces, if you will. That might be a cool piece to kind of touch on, and that might be something we want to do at the start of the races, Kim, is have the guys kind of explain how Chuckwagon racing, like, I think they kind of do it a little bit, but I think we all take for
demonstration.
granted. Yeah, I think we all take for granted that everybody that comes to this thing knows what it is and knows, how it is. But if
it's a great idea.
I know whenever I've gone to hockey games, the first hockey game I went to, I had no clue. I just wanted to see a fight, and then as I went to more hockey games, the rules became the interesting part of it to me. Like why are they doing these plays? Why is this the way that it is? Because now I know that there's icing and how the offsides work, and now it makes more sense and it's more engaging to me. So that might be kind of a cool thing to touch base on at the start of the race on Saturday. This is your first time ever coming to a Chuckwagon race. Here it is.
You guys could be trendsetters on that deal. It would be cool if before every race that there was a short demonstration. I do know that Ed Remus and Dean Holman, who have announced there the last couple times, I know that they try to make that effort to remind people, like, that outrider's got to get that stove in the wagon before that gun fires.
Great.
I mean, I know that they try to do that well, but it's one thing to say it out over the intercom or the PA. It's another thing if you guys, if the intro of your deal involved some kind of demonstration that said, we're going to show you what Chuckwagon racing is real quick, and just have them do a quick demo. I mean, I think that would be really cool, and we could video it as well. Obviously, we'd be shooting it, and it'd be cool to have that, and to be able to just say, this is what it is, and put it out there.
That's something I feel like between, like maybe it's Shannon and Cam and I don't know if Cam's still out riding for you guys or not, but
he is. Well, the thing about our mules is they may go like back to the pavilion. We don't know. Sometimes they round the barrel. Sometimes they don't.
But I do
ours
think
might not be cool. A good.
I think we just need to have the judges do it. So one is the wagon and another person's the outrider, and then you got to go in front of that.
I mean, all the way up until I raced with Shannon, he was explaining the rules and kind of the intricacies of being the cook to me, and I'm like, I had no clue. I just knew that the cook pot had to get into the back of the wagon. I didn't know that it had to be touching the ground all the way till they shot the gun. Like, it's just, I was like, man, this is a lot more than you actually think it is, and
timing
and the athleticism. I'm not saying that it's easy by any means. I don't think anybody could be a cook, and I know for sure not everybody could be an outrider.
Right.
Kind of know and learn more about what the races are and how the sequence of events that lead up to what makes it a race.
There's nothing easy about it.
No, it's
like
wild.
It's like you said, like any good sport, any sport that's worth doing, there's probably some pretty, I mean, the reason it stands the test of time is because it's interesting, because there's rules and you play within it governs the sport, right? And it keeps it interesting. And that's what's so great about Chuckwagon racing and that 3-person team.
And people don't realize the responsibility the cook has. I mean, that cook, you have to get your bedroll in the...
Kim was a cook.
Do what?
Kim was a cook, right?
I was. But I
Yep.
really got
Okay.
smart, and I become a cheerleader on the sideline.
It's too hard. That's how hard it
Yeah.
was.
No, I mean, I loved it. The adrenaline was crazy. But it was just, you don't realize, you got to be, you're the voice for your driver. You're the eyes,
Yeah.
you're the ears, you're the voice.
You're the rear
You're
view
everything. You
mirror,
got to know where
Yep.
your
the
outrider
side
is.
mirrors.
You got to know
It's-
where the other team is. You got to know where their outrider is. I mean, you got to know everything that's going on. Plus, when you ride with my husband, you have to shoot all them firecrackers. So, you
Yeah.
have like 500 things going on at one
Look,
time.
He expects you to, as soon as the words, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think the words are "light that son of a bitch." And if you're not pressing the button as soon as the word "light" comes out of his mouth, you're getting yelled at. I mean, he's like,
I'm
gotta-
getting whipped in the face with the lines, and
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
by the time I
Blood's
come off the
flying in your
racetrack,
mouth.
my hair is burnt. I mean, it's just, I really quit cooking because I really wanted to keep my hair.
Okay.
Yeah.
I believe
All right.
it. I believe it.
Oh my
to
gosh.
that point, a good cooks can prevent a lot of wrecks.
That's right.
We've all
100%.
seen it. I mean, we've all seen it. There was one. I was just going through some sequence of images earlier this week, kind of just in preparation. We're doing a new website for the ranch and stuff, so I'm trying to find these hero images to put online and stuff. And there was one where it was a wreck at the ranch, and it wasn't really anybody's fault. It was an outrider splitting the wagons, and two wagons came together, and it was a gnarly wreck. But it's like, man, hindsight's always 20/20, and you always see stuff when you're on the spectator sideline of it all. It's like, man, that could have been prevented if that cook had been, hey, outriders come and steer a little left. Could it happen so fast? Could it have been prevented? Maybe, maybe not. But it's just that kind of stuff. You don't know why the outrider was. If you're just watching, it's like, well, that's stupid of the outrider. But it's like, man, he had to get to in front of the wagon to get that qualified time, and that was the shortest distance. That's the way that it was, and it's just wild. But you don't understand any of that unless you know kind of the sport a little more intimately than probably your average person that's watching it really truly does. My dad thinks this is the most boring thing that we do at the ranch. And I just told him, I'm like, you just haven't you haven't seen it. You don't know what you're watching, so it just looks like a couple wagons running around a circle.
Hey, when we have the
that's
team show
totally
up,
the truth.
when the teams show up, I mean, that's the major part of the equation there. And that's when you have a race.
Yeah.
Right.
When you have enough teams show up and you can put
And
on
it's a
good
better race.
Sure.
Yes.
Especially when there's new people. Like the thing that I love is, I think it was the Halloween Havoc this last year. We had a few new teams, and nobody knows what they can do. That's kind of the cool part is, if you're going up against Keisha Todd, you're going up against a good driver, a good racer. Like
you're safer.
You got to bring your A game though to beat her. You got to be on point. You don't round that barrel right, that's it. Keisha's going to run off from you. But
Absolutely.
when you got that new team coming in, it's like, we don't know what these guys are going to do. Are they green? Are they brand new to this? Do they know how to drive? Do we need to steer clear of them, or are they about to wax us? Do they have some good mules or horses or ponies that are about to do this thing? It's interesting. So I'm really excited to see the sport grow, and I think I commend you guys for doing the podcast, because it's neat. It's something that there's not coverage for, and
well, it's really very hard and dangerous, and we we manage, and we talking about all these potential hazards on the track is a reason why we are analysts, and and we're on the front line doing this, and it's hard. But
now, David, all we have to work on is getting a big mule picture back there to the right of where it says your Selby Films. You got your buckboard over here. Yeah. We got to get you a big mule picture.
This was a gift from Jana Priscilla. She's probably been waiting for me to say this for weeks. It's a gift from Jana Priscilla. She got that put together and framed for me, and I told her while we're doing season 2, that sucker's going to be in frame, because we're putting out the last episode of season 2 from the Great Wagon Race on Friday this week. So for everybody that's listening, just remember, this is Thursday that you're hearing this, and tomorrow night it'll be on the Chuckwagon channel. So thank you guys for being here today. Everybody make sure it's on your calendars. It's the first points race of the year. It's the first race of the year. The spring Chuckwagon race is at Loretta Lynn's Ranch in Hurricane Mills, Tennessee, March 20th through the 23rd. Make sure you are there. Anthony and Kim, thank you guys for being on the show today. We appreciate you, and we will see you very soon. All right. So, yeah, they're gearing up for race number 1. Should be a good one. I'm excited for it. I'm honestly just kind of relieved that it's not going to be as hot as it was last year.
Amen.
That first race was hot.
It was hot.
Anyways, yeah, it's going to be a good race. What'd you guys think about the interview?
I thought it was good. I thought that little idea right there at the end, I mean, we have actually, we've touched on Chuckwagon Racing 101 and discussed the rules and the team roles and all that stuff before, but he's got a fair point when you talk about getting into the sport from scratch, you're talking about wanting to grow the sport.
Yeah.
So that would be a good thing to educate on. I mean, and even just to research ourselves, as to like all the way down to like sourcing wagons and, because I don't know that we've really talked about all the requirements of the wagons in each division either. So that's something that we could probably touch on and explain better.
David, you might, even if we went back and got some cuts of some different interviews that we've done. I know that we've talked with Brad before, and we've talked in depth about who they source for wagons and stuff like that. So that might be a good
And Alex Slaughter, I've talked to him recently, and he was talking about some potential for a new guy that he's talking to, and there's a lot of educating that could be done, especially as we kind of are starting to see, hey, we don't need to just be thinking about how we can bring a return to these racetracks and to the people in the sport. We need to start looking at how we can get more people into the sport, because there's it's marketing, it's promotion, but in a different way. And so there needs to be education, and like a call to action for people, right? And so to educate people and show them what it is and give them that taste, and then say, this is what you need to do next. And there might be some figuring out how to incentivize that, even, like you just
what
start
we do.
thinking.
So what are you doing the weekend of Weigh and Measure?
I feel like that's like very start of March, maybe,
because that would be a great time where people are going to have their wagons there, so we could even do some clips of like an experienced racer actually showing, hey, this is the box, this is what we use for the stove, this is how we put it on the ground, this is how you throw in, that's how you like jump in the wagon, then you have to catch the outriders blank like bedroll, so then you have an outrider back there and they throw the bedroll. You could just do like a video, a walkthrough. But then also I was thinking we could do like a panel of experienced riders talking to upcoming riders that maybe, wagon racers that this is their first year doing a wagon, or, and talk about what they should look out for, what ways make things easier, things like that.
No, it's very interesting. And, we talk about like, let's capture something, let's produce something, let's say it on the show, right? Let's do those things. I get stuck in the next phase, which is how do you get it in front of people? And that's always the thing, right? It's always like, to create something is one thing, but then to know that we can get it in front of the right people and for it to work, that's where it's really worth doing it, right? So, I don't know if we'll get something that soon or not, but I do think that needs to be on the back of everybody's mind, or moving towards the front. How can we educate more people in the sport? How can we get more people involved with it? And you talk about solving the problems that these guys have, the pain point of getting enough racers all the way out to Hurricane Mills, Tennessee, and we've got to figure out new ways to grow the sport, besides just growing the audience and the awareness of it. It's got to be for the people that we want to compete in it, because if we don't have that, it's going to die, right? So
sure. Yep.
Well, and I think one of the biggest issues for having these out of state races is, for one, just like Hurricane Mills, it's a far distance. So
Yep.
a lot of the Arkansas people that maybe it's their first year or whatever, they're not going to want to go all the way out there to see for the first race. But what I'm getting at here is the more races that they have in the areas around that, and it's the same as Alabama, the more races they have around Tuscumbia and the Seven Springs and around, Loretta Lynn's, the more you're going to build traction for that race among people that's around them.
Yeah.
Right.
So if there is a way, to build off of what they've done in Arkansas for the Arkansas Chuckwagon racing, to even build a small sample of that in other states that have races already, that is a key element as well. I mean, I think that,
Yeah, I think finding a way to sanction these other events that are out there, and I know a couple of them are already sanctioned, but like to think about what's going to be the best for the sport. I think that those things are on the horizon. I know that the association as it is right now has to be feeling that pressure of, man, we're really stacking the deck over here in Arkansas, and that's not going to work very well for these outlaw races, or not even outlaw, but these races that are out on the outer edge or across the Mississippi, and it's just, it's going to be a challenge. And it's that's what I call a growing pain. I think it's a good problem.
That is a growing pain. Yeah.
It's a good problem to have. And now we go and we figure out what the solution is. And I think that now more than ever, all of these racetrack owners and the people on the board, they are of the mindset of they are solution minded, and if not solution minded, they're way more open minded than I think they've ever been. And so,
absolutely,
they're good conversations to be having. So, I know we've been on here for a long time, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. But good show, good interview today, and I hope everybody's got it on their calendars, because we will be there, and I know that we're doing video things there this year. That's the plan, that we'll be doing video things that we haven't done regularly in the past. We're going to be doing a pre-race show, and we're going to be capturing it better than we have in the past. We're going to be getting more interviews. We're trying to get more exposure for the sport. We encourage everybody that races, please go to Loretta Lynn's, make the trek. It's going to be a good race. We're going to have a good time, and we're excited to see those of you that are there. So don't forget, Great Wagon Race Season 2. The finale will be released Friday, 6 p.m. Central Time, exclusively on the Chuckwagon channel. So subscribe, relive the ride at chuckwagonchannel.com. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for tuning in and supporting what we do, and we will see you out on the track.
Thanks for listening to the CWC podcast.